people don't show signs. Some people you'd never know that they go home at night and consider suicide. You would have no idea. So I think it's just a matter of, you know, if you know somebody well enough, trying to read their body language, or, I mean, I couldn't tell you. That's why it's so important that the person that does suffer and struggle with it speak out and ask for help and say that they're not okay, because it's guesswork, you know? People who don't suffer from it wouldn't know what to look for. And again, some people don't show signs.
I decided to develop this foundation called the Scars Foundation, and what it is basically encouraging people to show these emotional or physical scars instead of hiding them and suffering in silence and making them feel unworthy or insecure. And so it's a nonprofit that we're going to be creating events, do speakings, doing concerts, donating our proceeds from the downloads or merchandise to help raise money on a global level that'll help battle everything from, you know, depression to addiction, suicide prevention, bullying, PTSD.
And it's about that constant pressure that builds, you know? That's what anxiety feels like to me, is just like a constant, steady level of pressure that just gets bigger and bigger until I feel like I'm gonna explode. Every single time I talk, that's venting, you know? It's just a little bit, pressure level drops a bit and it gets back down in the green and we're safe a bit. Yeah, exactly. Like, otherwise I walk around feeling like a nuclear reactor.
People who fight depression are almost in a constant state of hurting, you know?
Sure.
Like it comes and goes, you know, the tide rises, the tide ebbs, and sometimes it's hard to get, you know, past that break. So I think people need to realize that not only is that immature, but it's also a cop-out, and it's needlessly simplifying a very real issue.
Don't wait till after the fact. Don't wait till the funeral. Don't wait till the person's already in the ground. And if anybody sees people who are in a state of distress, who are struggling, who are continuing to try to fight the fight, to be an advocate for them, to go ahead and you know, to involve themselves in some way, to try and make something good happen before nothing else can.
I've done a lot of research and done a lot of studying trying to fully accept my diagnosis, because at first I didn't want to be bipolar. I shared stigmas that a lot of people have out there about what bipolar meant, and I was afraid of how people were going to perceive me and what that meant, and so I didn't want to have it. Yeah. And in the research that I've done and the studying that I've done, I fit right into the same kind of demographic and diagnosis schedule that most people who have bipolar fit into. It usually takes 10 to 12 years to get a proper diagnosis.
Yes, it's very, very difficult to actually diagnose someone with bipolar.
Right, yeah. And for me, it just became glaringly obvious during my last episode, you know, with the delusions, the paranoia, the mania, the alternate reality that my mania put me in.
We always hear the story of, oh, well, they were fine, you know, it's had a great show and said, see it tomorrow on the bus, and they're gone. It's incredibly difficult to try and focus in and try and figure out what's going on in somebody's head. The only thing you can do is love each other, support each other, and just see if there are any kind of telltale signals. And there generally is something somewhere in the mix that's just gone by you in the what happens in a day. But it's awful, and rock and roll, creative people, it's just this terrible thing that just doesn't seem to go away. But what is good is that these days now it's being discussed more openly.
The other steps when I'm in that deep place where I can't just hit the eject button is a step-by-step, it's little victories, it's inches. An inch is a good thing. You don't have to go a mile, just go an inch and then pat yourself on the back for it. Reward yourself, tell yourself, that's good, all right, I got an inch. Just focus on your breathing, just focus on one good thing. It's really just redirecting focus. You know, music helps do that. It gives you a power to do that in those moments. Inspiration does that.
Go get help. Try and the thing that happens when you're depressed or you're going through mental issues is you like to try to self-medicate. Everyone I know that's really hurting inside usually becomes an alcoholic or a drug addict, and that's because they're trying to hide things that are going on that you can do. The best thing you can do is try to go get some help and talk to someone. You get on a medication that'll help. There's medications that will help. There's medications that make it worse. It's a crapshoot. It's hard, and it really is. And things that I can say that helped me is like getting up and taking walks, exercising. That kind of stuff helps with the depression and other stuff like that. But the other thing is there's a stigma around it, and people try to hide it, that they're hurting. Tell someone. A lot of people are compassionate, and it'll help. Don't feel that you're alone. I know I felt I was alone, and I tried to hide it a lot. What was going on with me and stuff in my head. Get help.
Just keep the conversation going, because it's definitely becoming a lot more and more apparent, especially in the music scene. But it sucks that it took, these amazing, beautiful people just not being able to take it for people to start realizing that.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, that's always been something that means a lot to me, and then that's why BEARTOOTH exists. That's the whole point of every album, pretty much, is like trying to understand mental health. And I don't know, I'd say just keep talking, and as much as you hold it in, it builds, it just builds like pressure, and it's gonna blow in one way or another, and it's rarely ever good. So like, just find ways to release that pressure.